This is Jerry Mason, the Kickin Lawyer, and I'm inviting everyone to join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. on the Kickin Lawyer fan page on Facebook for Law Talk Live, where we discuss business, politics, current events, and the law. If you miss the live version, you can watch the playback on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast platform. Lawyer, and we're here for another Law Talk. Now, this one is pre-recorded, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the show. Feel free to leave comments and whatnot, and we can check those back later. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, follow, subscribe to the content. We're on all social media platforms as well as podcast platforms, and we're on TikTok. We've had a couple of videos that have gone kind of viral there, mostly Josh dancing. Those are the best ones.
Lots of dancing videos.
Yeah, lots of dancing. As always, I want to remind you to, if you haven't already, to download Wonder Girl by the band NA. It is free on Spotify and iTunes. Give those guys a listen. I mean, you can't beat it. It's free. Plus, they're local. It's good to support local. Speaking of local, we got Michelle Allen. She's a longtime sponsor of the show. She's your go-to realtor in the area. If you're buying, selling, renting, leasing, real estate, or just have general questions, she's a really nice person. Be glad to talk to you. And, of course, Mason's High Octane Martial Arts, located in Covington since 1993. We are relocating in the next couple of months for the third time in 30 years. But if you want to start your own martial arts journey, just reach out to us at masonsmartialarts.com. And, of course, the Cellar Restaurant Prohibition Bar. It's a 1920s themed restaurant located off the square here in Covington. And we have live music and Christmas parties and a big New Year's celebration that's coming up. Tickets are still available. So feel free to reach out to us about that. And if you need any help with your online presence, Josh is glad to help you. He's got Masonite Digital Marketing, and he wants to accelerate your brand. Now, joining me today, off the cuff, because he's in town for Christmas, he's a friend of Josh, and I know of him, and we'll get to know him better now, is Mr. Justin Otto. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Jerry.
Yeah.
I've known Josh for maybe over a decade now, I think.
I'm sorry.
It's the worst thing ever. Right?
I don't like to think about it too much.
Are y'all the same age?
No, he's actually older by a significant amount.
That's right.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Well, that's not a significant amount.
It's like 4 years.
Yeah. Y'all can still get married. It's legal. Anyway, how did y'all meet?
Well,
I don't remember. I remember you being his friend. Like, I've heard of him talk about you and stuff, and I think I've seen you before at a couple of things at my parents' house, but I don't remember how you met.
I think actually the very first time we met, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, was my brother came to one of your video shootings, one of your very early ones, and I showed up as well.
Yeah, I think it was back in the early days when I was doing the very first few YouTube videos that were terrible that I don't want anybody to ever see. And yeah, you came to one of those, and then we've just been buddies ever since. So we have a kind of like you, Jerry. We've got a little friend group, messenger group on Facebook that's me, him, my buddy Andrew Watson, and Ben Sass, where we just exchange memes and videos.
I've got a couple of those. I'm going to go and say that if the government ever got a hold of my phone, there's not going to be like naked pictures or anything, but there's a lot of stuff that they'll be like, man, there's something wrong with this guy.
The spicy memes.
Yeah, the memes and whatnot. So, well, that means y'all have known each other since you were like 18 or so. Yeah. So I know you've had some military experience. And of course, a lot of the folks on here may or may not know you. Why don't you tell us what your background is and everything?
Yeah. So I, of course, went to high school here, Brighton, Tennessee. And then I decided to go to college for nursing down in Memphis. About 3/4 of the way through that, I discovered that I hated people and decided the best course of action was to join the military. So been doing that and work in cybersecurity. That's pretty much the story. I've been to Japan. Now I'm back in the States.
How long were you in Japan?
I was in Japan for 3 years.
Was that for the cybersecurity job or military?
No, it's military.
Was it? Can you tell me what you did with the military? Was it cybersecurity?
Mm-hmm. I was going to join the Army, actually, but my dad was Navy, so I kind of steered my
How long was he in the Navy?
He was in the Navy for 30 years.
Okay, well, that's a long time. Yeah, I almost joined. I don't know if Josh. Do you know I almost went in the Air Force? Did you know that?
I thought it was the Marines you almost went into.
Well, I did then too, but that was a whole different deal. I was initially going to go to the Air Force Academy, and Colorado Springs. My friend, well, Brian, my law partner, he's older than me, but he went to the Air Force Academy. He was in the Air Force for like 16 years, graduated the academy and everything, and was an officer. And then his brother Aaron, was my best friend forever. Aaron went to the Air Force Academy, and we were the same age, and so we were real good friends. And the Taekwondo Olympic Training Center is in Colorado Springs. And so I wanted to go be on the Air Force's Taekwondo team and potentially train to do the Olympic team there. And I was like, oh, that'll all make sense. It'll work. And then my girlfriend at the time, eventually wife, became pregnant. And so I had to make some decisions. And I want to say at the time, the Air Force Academy had a rule where if you were married or had like connections back home, they wouldn't take you because you had to decide to either be a daddy or be in the Air Force because it's difficult, I guess. I don't know. But either way, I decided to stay here, and so I didn't. And then a year after that, we were really struggling financially. And so I was looking at ways. I was like, what can I do? I was 18, 19 years old. And so I went to a Marine recruiter. I went to all the recruiters, and here's what's interesting. I don't know if you had this experience or even thought about it. I went to the Navy, went to the Army, Air Force, even potentially to be enlisted, and they were all really selling me. Like, they were all like, this is the greatest thing ever. Come on, we'll give you the bonuses, all this stuff. I went in the Marines, and he said, come here, watch this video. And the video was them, like, getting their tails whipped. These Marines are just getting destroyed. And afterwards, he's like, you still want to be here? And I was like, yeah, this is the place I want to be because these guys are so hard. And so I almost enlisted in the Marines. And anyway, and then after that, once I didn't do that and decided to stay here, I was just teaching Taekwondo till I was 21, and then at 21 I went into law enforcement. So that was my military experience, or lack thereof, I guess. So that was sort of my process on it, but it sounds like you didn't even look at the others, I guess, if your dad had the background in the Navy.
Oh, no, not really. I just, he kind of steered that decision. Well, his experience steered that decision, so up to and including the job role that I went for. So
I was going to say, what did he do in the Navy?
He was on subs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not anything you were ever interested in?
No, not even in the slightest.
Did you go to boot camp in Chicago, up around Chicago, Great Lakes?
I did. That's actually the only boot camp the Navy has anymore.
Okay. I thought they had a second one up till recently.
They had one in Florida, but I don't know when that one was closed. It was definitely before my time.
Man, that would suck to get stuck in the Great Lake ones and not Florida. That's where my son went, was the Great Lakes, and it was in winter. So it was cold. There's a picture of them rucking, and they've got it's snowing its rear end off up there. We went and visit him a couple of times. I think it was right when he graduated, and he was in between schools or whatever. He was really cold, but one thing for you guys in the military, and this is for anybody watching too. This is as an old guy, my view on it. I think for the military, I think for young people, the military is a really good catalyst for growth and to give you life experience. You get, like, my son has lived in Chicago, Florida, and now San Diego. He's been in San Diego about a year and seen and done things that a lot of people his age will never do. He's been deployed now on an aircraft carrier. He's an armorer there with them, and so he gets to play with a bunch of really cool guns, and just life experience in general. I think it can help give you direction when you're young and you're just not sure what's up. So, has that been your experience?
I think the military definitely provides a lot of structure and direction for young men, and for young women, of course. It also sets them up for future opportunities if they decide not to stay in with the GI Bill and stuff like that. So,
Well, what do you plan to do? Do you know yet?
I am undecided.
So how much longer have you got on your existing contract?
About 2 years.
So then it's to make a decision on which direction to go. Are you enlisted? Did you enlist in?
I am enlisted.
Okay. Yeah, so Alex was trying to explain the ranks to me, because the Navy ranks seem to be the only ones that are unique. They have different names for them, and you know what I mean? Like, it's different.
I think that the Navy ranks make the most sense out of all the branches.
Well, I don't know enough about any of them, obviously, to comment, but I just know that, like, Army ranks were similar to what we did in the law enforcement. And then the Navy ranks, like, the officers are like an ensign. And like in Air Force, you come out, you're a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, right? And in the Navy, it's like you're an ensign and I don't even know what's after that with them.
Lieutenant junior grade.
And then like a captain is a huge deal in the Navy, I think. So it's just interesting that it's different with them. Were you in movies with Josh?
I'm actually in his latest movie.
Oh, you're in the Mario one?
I am.
Yeah, we shot his. He has like a cameo in it. We shot when he came down for Thanksgiving. So.
Oh, was he the Laura Croft one? Was he Laura Croft?
No.
He says a cameo.
I am Laura Croft.
Hey man, if I looked like Sarah did, I'd be Laura Croft all the time. So yeah, all right. So we talk about that then. Speaking of that, what did you think, Josh, about the Henry Cavill announcement?
I kind of see both sides. On the one hand, I still think he's a great Superman. Everything. Would love to see Man of Steel 2 or Superman versus Black Adam or whatever other movies they were going to do with him. But I also understand where James Gunn is coming from. For those that don't know, he's the new head of DC Films and all that. And he basically just fired Henry Cavill, however you say his name. Because what James Gunn is trying to do is he's trying to start with a clean slate. He just wants to throw everything out, start over completely from scratch. And I get it, because if you look at the DC movies, there's been more, what do you call it? I guess missteps than there have been good things they've done. So that means that when they throw it all out, unfortunately, they got to throw out the good stuff too, such as Henry Cavill's Superman. So I get where he's coming from, but it doesn't suck, any less that we're not going to get Man of Steel 2 or any more movies with him.
Do you follow the superhero movies?
I do. I'm a big fan of Marvel, not so much DC. Well, I'm a big fan of earlier Marvel, not so much current Marvel.
Well, I could comment on why I would agree with you, but then we're going to get into politics. So, which is your favorite of the early ones?
Oh, probably going to be either Iron Man 1 or Avengers 1.
Yeah, I was going to say Avengers 1. I remember that was a big deal. And they did a great job building them up together, which I think was a mistake DC did. I think DC rushed it. DC was trying to catch up, so they were trying to start with like their Avengers movie, Justice League, instead of building up to that. I mean, think about it. Marvel had almost a decade to build up to that hype for Avengers. But I do think it's gotten a little out of hand, even though I'm a giant comic book geek. But I'm a DC guy. Like growing up, I loved DC more than the Marvel characters. And then like I've been very frustrated. Like I liked Man of Steel, and I like Henry Cavill as Superman. But I just feel like they're still not doing those characters justice. Like you watch them and they're not as entertaining as the Marvel movies. So I don't know. I was a little disappointed that they let him go though, and then I've heard mixed opinions. I hear he's a genuinely good person, like he's a pretty good dude. He seems to take it seriously being Superman, that it's a big deal. But I don't know. I think the James Gunn guy can do a good job with the DC universe though, so I'm going to be patient with his decisions.
I genuinely think that most people involved in the film industry are typically horrible human beings. But Henry Cavill seems to be sort of an exception from everything I've heard.
Yeah, so Otto doesn't like people. He doesn't like people that do movies. So he kind of likes Henry Cavill though.
Yeah, it's okay.
So are you married?
No, I'm single.
Oh, well there you go.
I'm in a relationship, but I'm unmarried.
Okay, so he's like interviewing a.
Well, whenever you fill it out on a form, it says, "Are you?"
Yeah,
single
you're right.
or...
You're right. Yeah, but I don't know what your significant other's going to think when you're like, "Yeah, I'm single." Well, I'm in a relationship, but I get it.
It's legally I'm single.
Okay,
but very committed relationship.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Good. How long?
So it's been going on for about 3 months now. Yeah.
Oh, so super committed at 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, some fire then.
Well, so hopefully that assuages any heartache that just happened at the past 5 minutes. So.
Well, we can edit it all out.
Yeah.
It's pre-recorded. We get Josh to edit it. What you should do, Josh, is just have a picture of him sitting there and then edit in like a poem or something that you're saying to her, and make it up to her.
Yeah.
Is she here or elsewhere?
No, she stayed up with her family for the holidays. So.
Yeah, your family's all here.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated Brighton High.
I did.
Okay. I think I was just telling Josh because we did that. One of the TikTok videos that just blew up was in Brighton High. We were talking to the kids. When I was in high school, Brighton High was getting built. Like it didn't even exist yet. Our big rivalry was Munford. And now it seems to be, it's still Munford, but, it's a rivalry with Brighton, too. Who's going to be the best football team, in the county? Did you play ball or anything?
No, I played a little bit for the rugby team, Storm Rugby.
Mm-hmm.
No football or anything like that.
Yeah, well, rugby's cool. I still don't understand the rules though.
I don't think anybody really understands the
my
rules.
my Aaron that I was talking about earlier, my buddy, he played rugby I think he played in the Air Force Academy, and then he played at Memphis also, and he's still struggled to tell me the rules of rugby. It's just basically run up and smash people, I guess.
The big one is you can't be in front of your own guy with the ball. That's kind of like the big one.
Yeah, but the ball never seems to be dead. Like
No.
you just throw the ball, somebody picks it up, and they smash into you, and then you get in a ruck or whatever, and it's just so random the way it works.
Right. So unless there's like a penalty or the ball goes like out of bounds, you're not really going to have any breaks. In which case you would transition either to a line out or like a scrum.
Speaking of smashing folks, do you watch MMA or follow MMA at all?
Not in many years.
Oh, really?
Conor McGregor, is he still relevant? He was
He's
really
still,
relevant.
He's still relevant, but he's not prominent.
Okay.
Yeah. Was that like your favorite guy or your least favorite?
No, that's just the only guy I can remember.
Yeah, so he's this is sort of a development in MMA. So he broke his leg in a fight. The last fight that he had, he shattered his like right here, his tibia and fibia snapped, but the lower part of his bone near his ankle. So he's fighting and he steps back on it and it breaks like completely. So it's a very severe injury, which, I feel like I can kind of relate after the hamstring tear I had recently. Not near as extreme as that. Of course, he's got money to pay for it. So anyway, he's supposed to be rehabbing it. It's going to come back, and he's been gaining weight. It looks like he's on a few of the steroids, and he's gotten pretty jacked. So he fought. His titles were at 45 and 55 pounds, 145, 155 pounds. And he's walking around about 190 pounds now. He's pretty big. And so he's wanting to fight at 185. So that'll be interesting to see how because one of his things was speed. And now that he's going to have this extra weight, I don't know, it's harder to be faster when you're that big.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Liver King's natural.
What do you think about that?
Rocks, of course, natural.
Did you follow the Liver King thing?
Oh, yeah. So
what do you think about that?
I mean, I always knew. I think I'm not mad that he lied about being natural. I'm mad that there's people that actually believed he was natural.
Well, then
it's kind of like The Rock being like 50 and more shredded
and bigger than he was when he was 20.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll be one of the guys you're mad at, and let me tell you why. I also realized that that's a very difficult, maybe impossible Liver King physique to get without enhancement, right? However, I followed the guy from inception, like when he first come out. And although he had grown in the last few months to be way, way, way more over the top with everything, I really do believe that humans underestimate their potential. And so I was like, maybe this guy really has maximized his potential. He's eating like a caveman. He's doing these hard workouts. He's done it forever. And I was like, maybe. I'm not saying he wasn't. So my wife was your mindset and is angry with me because she's like, you're an idiot.
Well, I like to think I agree with you about humans not having their full potential realized, but without advocating for cruelty to animals, I'd rather see gorillas, see how far they can go. Because you think they don't have any weightlifting or like nutrition training, but they can deadlift like 2,000 pounds.
Yeah,
so I want to see if we can get a gorilla on steroids.
Yeah.
And in a gym. I just want to see how much they can bench press.
Yeah. Well, that made me. I got to get into the comment on that, but I was bringing up another thing I ask people about. It's a Joe Rogan question about who would win between a grizzly bear and a gorilla, and we get your opinion on it. But I want to circle back on Liver King. Oh, I thought that was. I thought he was coming in here. I don't know if you guys on the mics heard, but we got some noise in the other room.
We have extremely thin walls.
Yeah. Well, in the new place, we're going to have to make sure we got it all insulated better.
Yeah.
That's another thing, folks, that next year we're going to be building out a new studio at a new location. It'll be bigger, better, and badder, and all that stuff. Anyway, what I was going to say is, yeah, I agree. But one thing I would change, I actually wish, and this is going to give me some, especially if Josh makes it a clip, this is going to get me some haters. I think that in professional sports, steroids should be legal because most of them are doing them anyway. And if I'm paying money to come watch some dude fight some dude that's getting paid or a football player, I want to see the biggest jacked human possible. Why do we say, oh no, the playing field's not level? Because all of them are doing different stuff. Like look when they did the Tour de France and everybody was all on Lance Armstrong, and then they couldn't even award it to anybody because it was like 80th was the next highest rank guy that they could maybe say didn't do the blood doping. So I'm kind of the opposite. I'd like, man, let them get, if they want, and you got to understand there's risk, but if you want to do it, do it.
What about a natural league and a steroid league? Because I agree with you. I'd like to see like a 400-pound like linebacker cut some guy in half in the middle of the field.
Just decapitates him when he hits him. Yeah. I mean, they have that in like bodybuilding's a good example.
Right.
So bodybuilding, but I did competitive powerlifting. And there are divisions. There's a tested division, but even that there's ways around it. Like when I did the competitive powerlifting, I was natural. I had nothing, and I mean I think you could even kind of look at me. I was even doing stuff like gaining weight because at the time a power belly would help you with some of the lifts because you would push your gut against the belt, creates a stable frame for your deadlift and your squat, right? Anyway, I was natural. I looked natural, I looked fat, but I was stronger than I'd ever been. But I had some competitors ripped to the gills, and yanking up weight, and it's in I was competing in the clean division. I know that some of them were roided up. There's just no way, you know what I mean? Like, so I just feel like, I think if you made it where it was acceptable, because think of it this way, in the steroid league, why can't we just have this is the league, like right now, so it's not a stigma attached to it, and then I think they're more likely compete in that league. But then, man, people are so competitive. If you have a natural league, you're still going to have folks trying to mess the system up. So.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would want to watch the natural league over the steroid league anyways.
Did you watch the Mr. Olympia this weekend?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I did. I follow all that kind of stuff, right? I follow these fringe sports mostly. Combat sports, bodybuilding, boxing, collegiate wrestling. What else do I watch? Anything combat. I like gymnastics. I think that's a very impressive demonstration of human performance. Like, I think they're undervalued. It's very difficult. But anyway, I watch all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so the Mr. Olympia, what they did is they've got several different divisions now. They got this classic physique. They got the traditional Olympia. They've got women's bodybuilding, women's bikini, figure physique, all this stuff. And I would almost bet every one of them, women included, are on some kind of performance enhancing stuff. I mean, it's just virtually impossible to compete at that level without it. But you're right. The ones that win are the freaks. Nobody wants to see. But then they want to dog on them when it comes out all of a sudden they're on roids.
Right. So again, it's fine. I just I think there should be like a little bit of separation between the roid league and the non-roid league. Obviously, if you don't want to do the things that could potentially damage your body, which of course powerlifting might do it anyways, but if you want to keep your bloodstream clean and just be natural, I think that you should have a room to compete where you're not at a so steep disadvantage against the next guy who's chemically enhanced that why even bother at that point.
So let me circle back to gorillas and bears. So which one do you think?
I think it depends. If the gorilla is able to punch the bear first, like break its jaw, then the bear is done for. But if the bear is able to lock its maw around the gorilla's neck, then I think the bear's got it.
See, I kind of felt that way because I figured the gorilla was smarter too and maybe more agile. But I just saw a video the other day. I sent it to you, Josh. It was at a wedding, and this grizzly bear was
was it an elk or something?
Yeah. They were across the there was like a dock, and then over on the shore they hear this just horrid sound, and it's a grizzly bear mauling a full size elk. Like it was elk or a moose. I mean, it was a giant four-legged animal, and it's like just screaming, and this grizzly bear it's impressive, the violence. So then I was like, man, I don't know if that kind of thing, if you get a full-size giant grizzly bear, I don't know, man, it's tight. Which one would take it out?
I think the more interesting question is how many people do you think it would take for you and a group of friends to take down a grizzly bear?
I've seen a TikTok on that too. Actually, I think it might have been on gorilla.
It's like with no weapons.
No weapons.
The number
and that
of
guy
people.
was like, that one guy was like on TikTok. He's like, man, you got 100 of us.
I think it wasn't it like Theo Vaughn or one of them.
Yeah. He's like, man, we're gonna lose a few, but I think we're gonna take them down.
I think if a grizzly bear takes 100 punches to the head, from 100 different people, that you would eventually give it a concussion or something. But
I don't know.
Their skulls are pretty thick.
I think we'd have to smother it or something. I don't.
You've seen the videos where it's like a bullet will bounce off a skull.
I mean, I've had as a cop, we've had dogs that we'd shot at, pit bulls that skulls the round ricocheted off of. So, and you imagine a grizzly bear's skull is so much thicker than that. And I mean, you're really just going to piss them off, you know? So I don't know. Like, I don't think we could even hit them in the head. I think you would have to like hold it down and smother it or something.
There would definitely have to be some sacrifices made.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Because somebody, you know, their claws are crazy too. They got big freaking claws. You ever seen that movie with is it Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah,
The Revenant.
The Revenant. That's a true story. You know, that's based on a true story. That dude literally got mauled by a bear and crawled his way with his insides hanging out. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
I don't recommend it.
The movie?
No.
Or getting clawed by a bear?
Getting clawed by a bear.
So you're not going to reveal your part in Josh's movie?
Oh, he's in the trailer.
I'm in the trailer, actually. Yeah.
Are you? I watched it. I don't remember. You know, I didn't recognize some of them, though. They did a good job. You did a good job with the outfits. Because
Otto's
Sarah's...
the one toward the beginning. He's
Sarah's
the one in the
boyfriend
suit.
Dylan, I didn't know he was Luigi. I didn't pick up on that.
I'm not technically under a Mario NDA, so I could say whatever I wanted right now, but I think Josh, what am I allowed to say?
I mean, whatever. Yeah, the trailer's out now, so it's not a secret anymore that we're making it. So yeah, you say whatever.
So you're Yoshi?
I play Spike.
Spike.
He's
which is,
like
Bowser's henchman.
yeah.
Okay.
He's basically the one that goes to Bowser and is like, Mario Brothers are gonna try to take you down, and then Bowser's all like acting like Marlon Brando, Godfather, and he's like, well, I've got to kill a guy because you're giving me bad news, so I'm just gonna randomly murder a person.
Did Josh pay you a lot for that role?
Yeah, he paid me in his friendship
and
over
bottle
the years.
and bottled water. I gave you some bottled water.
That's true. Yes. But as much of the Mason family food that I've eaten over the years, I think that is payment enough.
You gonna be around Christmas?
I plan to be. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because we got Christmas Day. Mama makes all the fried foods.
It's actually Christmas Eve this year, Saturday.
Christmas Eve, I meant. Yeah,
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you? What are y'all do Christmas on Christmas Day? How's your family do it?
So my brothers actually got married here, so we typically split it between both my parents' house and then his parents' house. So we'll either do one first or the other second. So it's a big thing. I got like 4 Christmases to go to.
Yeah, man, it gets so overwhelming. We're the same way. We do we got, and then all these Christmas parties too. So all these businesses that I'm in, we got all these Christmas parties. And so we got to do that, and then it's just so much, and then it's overwhelming, really. The 23rd, we're doing my kids' Christmas. They're all adults. The kids' Christmas at my house. The 24th is at our parents' house. Then we're going to leave the Christmas Eve and drive 5 hours to her family's house. So Christmas morning we'll be in Arkansas at my wife's family's house for a day or so, and then I want to say there's another Christmas thing. I think it's the Sellers Christmas party is like the 28th or 29th. It's just a lot. So anyway, it's a little extra. I personally am kind of over the commercialization of Christmas. Like it's just gotten too much. When you were little, did your parents do Santa?
Oh, yeah, we did Santa. Actually, I got a question for you. Is cursing allowed on the podcast, Jerry, or no?
Yeah, I mean, we try to not encourage it, but we don't bleep it. So,
okay. So there was my favorite thing about that I've seen for Christmas marketing, since you brought it up, is in Japan, they have this thing where they like to do Christmas advertising in English. And one I saw was Christmas fucking sale, just in big letters all over the
and
mall.
They didn't realize. I always wonder when I see people with, I've got one on my leg, when they have Asian characters, if they really know what it means, And then I've seen funny ones that are Asian people that have gotten English tattoos, and it'll be something random that, doesn't make sense to us.
Like Milk Burger.
Yeah, something like that. That's actually a topic I did mean to ask you about earlier, was Japan. I've never been to Japan. So I've been to Korea and China several times, but never been to Japan. And I think it's a whole different deal. When you first got there, what were the biggest differences to you from being in America?
Oh, absolutely, the public transportation. In Japan, the train systems are just on a different level. You can get anywhere you want in the country on the train. Never have to worry about anything. Where I was living, I could get on a train and be in Tokyo in 30 minutes, have a couple drinks, not have to worry about driving back. Cost me maybe $5 for the to and from trip with the train. Super safe, super clean.
Is that the main thing? That's pretty much it. Was the trains?
That was obviously.
How do they treat you as a foreigner?
Mostly respectfully, I think. There's some apprehension with the elderly sometimes, it felt like, but most of the youth especially seem to be very accepting of foreigners.
Do most of them? I would assume in the cities, most of them speak some English. Is that kind of how it is? And then when you go out rural, I guess it's less so.
Right. So actually, they teach English in their high schools as mandatory curriculum. So most of the people you'll encounter in Japan can either speak a little bit of English or enough to get by.
Yeah. That's kind of how Korea and China was in the cities. So, like when I was in Seoul, Korea, they almost everybody we encountered, it was very modern, and they almost all spoke English to some degree. Now, better than my Korean for sure. And then Beijing was similar. Then Beijing, there was people that it was less, but they still had folks that would speak English. But then when we would go out in the rural areas, less so. There was they were mostly just speaking their native tongue. So it's probably similar to around here. You go to big cities, I'm sure you can find people here that are maybe have more than bilingual, more than one language. And I think that's kind of the way it is around most of the world now. Is that the only other place you were stationed other than here was Japan?
Yes, I've also visited England, Ireland, and Wales, but station was Japan.
How did they treat you in England, Ireland, and Wales?
Well, I was like 16 at the time.
Oh, so you don't remember.
So
I asked to compare it because I've heard that we get treated pretty bad over there. In England, they're kind of rude to Americans.
well, probably,
Yeah.
but it was like a guided tour thing, so it was really like close knit and just seeing the sights. and
I
whatnot.
think they still are kind of butthurt that we whooped them.
Oh, the way from 1776. Yeah.
They're still holding a grudge, man.
They're still holding that L.
Yeah. That's okay. I rub it into them when I go over there. In Japan, did you do any martial arts?
No, just a lot of sightseeing, a lot of different foods, visiting the monuments, shrines, stuff like that. It was a little bit of partying in Tokyo. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I bet. Did you see any martial arts? Did I go to any exhibitions or anything?
I saw, I think, one sumo competition, and that's about it.
How was that?
It was pretty exciting.
One thing that's interesting to me, and it may have adjusted some over the years, but years ago, I was with MMA and in martial arts. Well, like when we were in Korea, when we would do demonstrations or compete or whatever, they're silent. They're very quiet because they're really good students of the martial arts. And so years before Americans even realized what a chokehold, an armbar, or any of these techniques were we use in MMA, they would be analyzing it. So they're quiet. And occasionally you hear like, oh, like that. But there's never, it's not like, yeah, screaming, whopper. It's not like the American type thing, right? There's almost a reverence when you're doing martial arts at least it was in Korea and China, and I think Japan's similar, where it's quiet.
Like a silent respect.
Yeah, and then they recognize skill too. So it's not like it's just different than it is over here. Where they're just constantly yelling and wanting to see somebody get whipped. There was a more of appreciation for the art of it, I think, over there. I've always wanted to see a sumo match. I've never seen one live.
Well, pivoting just slightly off that to a topic that might interest you about the Japanese, and this is just what we were told. I don't know if it's true, but as far as like the traffic laws, if you hit somebody and you're like a bigger vehicle than they are, so if you're a bus but you hit a car, you're automatically at fault, even if the car hit you. If you're a car and you hit a bike, you're automatically at fault, and so on and so forth. And at least that's what we were taught. And I was kind of wondering what's your opinion on that. So if someone like jumps out in front of your car to commit suicide, you're still liable to pay their family like reparations in Japan.
Well, I don't know how their insurance system is set up, so that would be important for me to comment on if it's fair or not. I mean, it doesn't sound fair. It doesn't sound very equitable, but I don't know. I mean, obviously over here it's not like that. Over here they fall, and also state by state in the United States determines what type of fault there is. There's what's called comparative fault, and then there's like modified comparative fault. There's these different, whether it's 50%. Some of them it's like if you're not over 50% at fault, then you're not at fault. Like if it's equal, and then some of them it can be 49%, and you still can be liable for whatever your fault percentage was. It's weird. But yeah, I don't think that's cool. What I was going to say when you said that though is when I was in China, they clearly don't have that law, because we would get on the bus and there's like no laws. Like I never forget, we were on this bus going somewhere in China, and the bus driver's honking at this guy on a bicycle, because there's a lot of bicycles over there. This guy's on a bicycle on the road in front of him, and he's pedaling as fast as he can, right? Well, he's just not getting out of the way. So the guy's like honking. Finally, he bumps the guy's tire with the bus. Like he's bumping this guy on a bicycle. Finally, he bumps it hard enough. The guy like, oh, and like runs off the road over into the other lane of traffic, and the guy just keeps going.
Well, I wonder about that, because you've seen the videos of the dash cam recordings of different Asian countries like China, where it'll have like a pedestrian come up to the hood of a car and like literally start head banging it
Yeah.
and slamming into it and making it like laying out on the ground like they got hurt. So I wonder what that's about then.
I don't know. I don't know which countries those are. That happens here. There's here where people will set you up. Like when I was a cop, we had training that they would try to block you in. Like you don't realize it, but there's a car coming up behind you intentionally to distract you, so this other car can come up and then you hit them because you're looking at the other car, and then they fall out and they're all injured and stuff. So I mean, people do crazy stuff like that all the time. It's all kinds of scams, I guess. The only scam I experienced in China was me and a buddy of mine where we had done whatever we were doing that day, and we were free to walk around Beijing in this specific area. Anyway, we wanted to go to the Hard Rock Cafe Beijing because we're stupid Americans. So we get off the bus and we were like, we'll walk in this direction. They had warned us not to give any of the beggars any money. Don't give anybody any, because there's a lot of begging and panhandling. A lot of it's a scam. So anyway, we're walking along and this group of kids come up and they are filthy. Okay, it was I don't know, 6, 7 kids, snot dried, black, no shoes, dirty, filthy, and they're wanting us to give them something, just begging, making noise and with their hands out. Well, the guy that was with me was real soft-hearted, and he finally pulled out I think the money is yuan, or maybe yuan. I think it's yuan in China. Anyway, he pulls it out, gives the one kid like a coin or something. Oh, man. Then it's like literally roaches coming out of the woodwork of these kids coming to beg, and they're pulling on us. They're real aggressive. They're reaching in our pockets, grabbing us. Like there's a whole bunch of them. And so we're trying to push these kids off, all these little kids. Well, I had noticed the whole time there was this dude walking across the way, like kind of matching our movements, but he was just staying on the other side of the street. Well, finally, these couple of Chinese business guys walked by and were like telling them something in Chinese and shooed all the kids away. And they got the kids off of us and got them away. And they sort of escorted us till we got to the Hard Rock. So fast forward, we get done eating. We come out of the Hard Rock and we're walking back. Well, across the street from the bus, these kids were in this park running around playing, and that dude was over there like counting money, and the kids all started flipping us off. So they were just, that's their job, just beg and get money from these stupid tourists or whoever would give them money. And so I felt like that was kind of a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or at least a little low-level racketeering.
Yeah, something like that for sure. But I mean, it's probably legal over there, man. I don't know. There was just so much. That's why I asked what your feeling is what was different in Japan. When I went to Korea and China, the first time was 97. And, the internet wasn't even around at the time. So it was a shell shock for me to some degree.
I never had any issues with... so the Japanese are very good at giving their homeless or their elderly jobs to do. Mm-hmm. So specifically, like kids on the way to school in the morning, there'll be an elder of the community that's like a crosswalk guard at like every single stop, mm-hmm. or like custodial workers. So I never saw much problems with the homeless in Japan. There were homeless people that I did see. Mm-hmm. So I did a little bit of volunteering with that as well, like giving out coats and feeding the homeless, but always very respectful and never felt like I was in any kind of danger or any kind of pressure to give money to them. Yeah.
Well, they have very, very low crime. Mm-hmm. Japan is one of the lowest crime rates, I think, of just nations in general. When I was my undergrad, my thesis was on the causes of recidivism. And so I sort of compared many of the countries on their crime rate and their recidivism rate, people that are going to recidivism as they recommit offenses. And Japan was, if not the lowest, one of the top 3 lowest crime rates just in the world.
I have a theory on that. You drop a couple of items on them, they start acting right.
There's actually there was like a scared straight moment when we first got to the Japan where they talked about the prison system, where it was basically like no AC, bar windows, no glass, mm-hmm. so you suffer through like the cold and eat fish head soup every day. So I think it mostly was like a scare tactic to keep us from like committing crime, but I don't know how much of that is actually true.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't remember. I know they had a low prison rate too. America's number 1 for how many people we imprison.
Number 1 in everything.
Yeah, we gotta always be number 1. Reaching for the stars. But yeah, a lot of countries don't. I talk about this before, but on the crime issue, I was real impressed with the Scandinavian countries. They have very low recidivism. They have lower crime in general too. But their prison system is set up way different. First of all, there's no cultural stigma. So if you go to prison in Norway, it's not, oh, you just got out of prison, you're a convict, we're not going to hire you, you're a second class citizen. They have the same, once they pay their penance, they do whatever the term is, and it's also set for rehabilitation. Like they look like schools, they don't look like prisons. It's like you're in school really this time. And they give you some skill, and then they help you with placement. And there's not this stigma that, oh, you're a criminal. You've paid your due, so we forgive you, and you're part of society again.
And there's no ongoing punishment with
Correct.
like losing your rights in potentially some states.
Correct. So that's a big thing that I deal with as a criminal defense lawyer. People will get convicted of a felony, and I mean that's it. You're going to be lower most of the time. There's going to be a lower class of life now for you. People are not going to hire you. There's a stigma attached with you. And I mean, I get if it's like some real egregious felons, but sometimes what people don't get is, I've said this before, many of my clients may not have even done the offense. Like legit, I may think they were innocent, right? But there's such a risk if you go to trial that sometimes they'll accept a lesser charge, negotiated charge, just so they can avoid the potential risk of going to prison for a longer time for something they didn't do. So, they may, I'll give you an example. Let's say they're riding with somebody who's got drugs, right? And a lot of drugs, and they both get arrested, and they had nothing to do with it. Like they did not know the drugs were in there, but they're in the car. Maybe it's their car, and this guy had it in his bag, and now it's in their car. They're in constructive possession. Other dude won't take it or say it's his. What are you going to do? It's clearly potentially yours. It's in the car. Who's going to believe that? Are they really going to believe it wasn't yours? And so they're like, well, if you get me a deal, even though I'm going to be a felon where I don't have to go to prison for any time, they'll do it. They'll take the plea and be on probation versus the risk of going to trial, losing, being convicted, and going to prison for a more substantial charge. So my point is, like, they're not all bad people. They come out and they're stigmatized, but they're not all bad people. And because of the way we view them when they come out, they're second-class citizens, So, but anyway, to each his own, I guess. But I think we could learn a lot. I'm not saying that we shouldn't punish people, but I think we could learn a lot from the Scandinavian countries on how they view that.
Or at least stop the ongoing punishment. So once you've served your time, that's it. And you can be reintegrated with society as opposed to continuing to have that stigma.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Justin. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like, follow, and subscribe to the content. All social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc., as well as podcast platforms, and you can listen to playbacks. And, if you guys get a chance and you're on YouTube, go find it and just follow the page, please. Subscribe to the page. It really helps the algorithm and helps us because we don't get paid for any of this, obviously.
We're only a couple away from like 1,000 subscribers. Anyway,
yeah,
so
woo! on YouTube. Our best following is on TikTok, of all places. Of course, another thing you can support is the band NA. They have their single Wonder Girls now available on Spotify, iTunes. It is free. Just go look them up, download it. It's N/A, the band. And I want to thank Michelle Allen. She's a long sponsor of the show. And if you're buying, selling, renting, leasing real estate, she'd be glad to help you out. And then Mason's High Octane Martial Arts running a sign-up special right now, 4 weeks in a uniform for $149. Best thing my parents ever did for me. If you want more information on that, just visit masonsmartialarts.com.
When's the new location?
It's probably, we're hoping for the middle of January, but it's more likely going to be February 1st. That's what we're looking at. The Cellar Restaurant Prohibition Bar. We have one in Covington, and I can go ahead and announce now that Q2 next year, we're going to have one in Somerville. So we'll have 2 restaurants running same theme, same good bourbons and steaks and whatnot. And again, we're open 4 p.m. 7 days a week. We will be closed the 24th, 5th, 6th, and 7th for some Christmas stuff, but then we'll be back open. And the big thing is to make sure you get tickets to our New Year's Eve masquerade ball. That's going to be a lot of fun at the Cellar. And Josh will help you with your online presence. If you're setting up websites, you need better traction, you're doing social media stuff, videos, ads, Josh will help you at Masonite Digital Marketing. And I do want to say, since this is probably the last time before Christmas that I get to talk to you guys, that I'm very thankful for everybody that watches any of our stuff, shares any of our stuff throughout the year. I'm thankful for my staff that support me enough to where I have the time that I can come and do this once a week because obviously you guys know I like to run my mouth, and I'm thankful for all the guests that I've had, too, that have given me their time because I saw a thing in a book called The Go-Giver. Brandon Armstrong turned me on that, Josh, from our visit with him at Brighton High School. And in The Go-Giver, this one guy who's pretty prominent, he's talking about to this other guy, and he's setting up like lunch meetings, and the guy's like, well, I don't want to waste your time. And he goes, you can't waste my time. And I think that's a really important perspective. And what he meant was, I'm the only one that can waste my time. If I'm sitting here talking to someone, this is what I decide to do. And it's the same thing with you guys. So, I like that perspective on life, is that you're the master of your own destiny and what you do with your time. You want to maximize that. And so I'm very thankful when you guys will give some of your time to our content. So anyway, saying that, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. We'll see you guys next week. Another pre-recorded one next week, so keep kicking. Thanks for watching, guys. Just remember that this is not legal advice or investment advice or business advice. This is for fun and entertainment purposes only.